Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
Where's Fielder? He's gone to the dogs.
Steve Fielder here with you today, and very, very excited about the guest that I have for you today. You know, October's just around the corner. September's always a whirlwind of activity in the coon hunting world, kicking off with Autumn Oaks at Labor Day weekend, and then that shortly followed by the UKC zone hunts and the zone finals, which was completed just the weekend before I'm speaking to you now. Also, PKC has had their fall super stakes. So it's been a very busy time. And I was fortunate to be able to catch up with the winner of the UKC World Championship, Casey Maggard from Hyden, Kentucky. And Casey was on the way to the woods, and he and I talked for about an hour about his recent win of the UKC World Coonhound Championship. You're going to enjoy Casey's accounts of his hunt, his description of his dog, and it's just a great episode for everyone to kind of sit back and kind of soak in all the excitement and all the joy that comes with winning a world championship. As we began this podcast, again, I seem to be plagued with some kind of technical difficulty, it seems. But right at the very first of the podcast, I had some issues again. And when I finally got the thing to work right and we were talking, I was a bit confused. And you'll see in the beginning of the conversation, I think that Casey's talking about the dam of Little Casey, the world champion, but he's actually talking about Little Casey. And we get that all sorted out, and from that point on, it's just a real good conversation, and I hope you enjoy very much. Want to thank W Hunting Supply, Alpha Dog Nutrition, Zepp's Predator Calls, that make this podcast possible. And so just sit back and go with me to Marshall, Illinois, for a recap of the UKC World Championship from the horse's mouth, as they say. You'll hear the calls that were made, the situations that developed through four casts of hunting at Marshall, and the emergence of a brand new world champion. So here we go with the interview with Casey Maggard.
2020, we went up there and hunted the Labor Day Classic. You know, most of the time when you travel away to a hunt, it seems like most of the time you always end up drawing one of your good buddies. Well, of course, JR and I drew each other. Well, there was another dog on the cast, a pup out of Willie, first cast she'd ever been in. And fella that owned her, he actually lives, he's a local guy too, Claude Martin Jr. and his wife, Mally. They live about 30 minutes from him in the next county over. Well, that little female there, man, she just put on a clinic. She treated 2 coons to, I think I may have scored on 1, and that was it. And I told that guy, I said, you know, if you ever decide you'd be interested in selling her, to let us know, we would be interested. And it wasn't just a month or 2 later, you know, he got in contact with us and he decided he was going to let her go. And that's kind of where it all started.
So that was the Jammin' Holly female?
That was I heard Lacey's mommy tree jamming Holly. Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
but yeah, I think actually another fella had Lacey's mommy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in looking at her, at the information that UKC put out during the finals and so forth, it says that she was sired by a dog called Trick Magic. Do you know anything about that dog?
Yeah. Actually, that dog he's about an hour and a half west of me, and that's one thing that I've noticed. A lot of the females that's out of him, man, they're just good reproducing females.
I see.
There's been several females crossed over Willie that's been out of him that's been great crossing.
Do you know anything about his background, his pedigree?
No, I think he's out of Mill Creek Magic.
Okay. Okay.
That's about
I
all
got you. I got you. So you bought the Holly female. Now, Casey is owned by Jack Maggard. Is that your dad or a brother, or who is that?
Oh no, Jack is my uncle. That would be my dad's brother. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got you. So you bred Holly, and she's a dual grand herself. I see.
No, we didn't breed Holly. I guess another fella had Holly, and then the Claude Martin Jr. had bought a pup off of him, and that's where Lacey came from.
I got you. Okay, yeah. I see now. So you bought her as a puppy.
Well, she was about 17 months old. Yeah.
Okay.
Drew her in that cast.
Oh, that's right. You said okay. Yeah. I got behind there, Casey. I thought you were talking about the Holly female, and you were actually talking about Lacey at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. So she was a pretty nice hound at 17 months old then.
Yeah, she was naturally independent. Man, she looked good in that cast. She made 2 trees and had 2 coons, and I loved everything about her. She's a smaller type dog. She's got a good mouth, kind of a distinct type mouth, on track. Good chain. When she locates, you can tree her. I was very impressed.
Well, I've got to confess to you that I have not watched the entire finals of the UKC World, and I need to do that. We've had several things. I went up to South Carolina and picked up a new puppy and made a 2-day trip and just one thing or other. And as we're talking right now, Casey, we're under not just a warning or a watch. We're going to get a hurricane through here in the morning, and it's going to come up the Gulf here to the west of us and head up toward Tallahassee. So we've been kind of busy with a lot of that stuff. But I definitely want to sit down and watch the coverage and all. But I did look at the results and so forth, and it looked like you had a pretty tight cast. And I want to talk to you about that. But explain to me a little bit more about Little Lacey. She is a beautiful female, blanket backed. Of course, I would kind of expect that out of Willie. Tell me a little bit of how she operates.
I guess the main thing about her, Steve, is she's consistent. That's seemed like every cast that I put her in, or my good buddy Eric hunted her in, that you always just squeeze by. She keeps her nose out of trouble. If she trees a couple coon, she don't usually take any minus, and that's just how she wins. As far as treeing coons, she can work up a track if she needs to, or if you put her where there's several coon, it seems like she can tree them like that too. And she moves around good. She'll go as far as she needs to get treed. She's usually 99% of the time she's going to be by herself unless something just right out of the truck. But she's about always by herself.
Was she naturally that way, or did you have to kind of encourage her to be independent?
No, I thought she was too independent, honestly. If that's a term, I guess. There'd be times, she'd strike a track out of the truck, couple dogs there with her, she'd load up tree, them other dogs come in there, she was gone.
Yeah.
And
I've had I've
guess,
had one like that, a female one time, and I loved her, but I could never get her over that, I've often said if you turned every dog at Otomokes up the creek, she'd go down the creek,
Yeah.
But
yeah. But I guess with the little age here, it seemed like, there's been several trees that, out of the truck that she's stayed. I'm still gun shy about it, but so far, hopefully she'll just kind of stay the way she is right now.
Well, is she kind of an alpha type dog? I mean, is she?
Not necessarily. No, if there's any interaction goes on, usually she's gonna roll out there. She don't like to deal with no BS. No,
I got you. Yeah, well, that's good, and that's served her well, I'm sure. Yeah, well, and does she open pretty good on track?
Yeah, she normally gets her mouth open good. That's one thing I also like about her. She's good about getting her mouth open, and she can just flat move a track when she needs to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you, where did you qualify for the World Hunt?
Initially, I guess we went to an RQE about 2 hours north of me in Kentucky. Actually, it was, I guess, the second to the last one that was available, close to me, and went to that and was able to get a cast win. And then we registered to go to Florida, Illinois, to the zone.
Right.
We went up there, and on Friday night we had a decent score, and then Saturday we wasn't able to win our cast, so we were hoping that we could get in on that single cast score, and sure enough, we did.
Well, good. Yeah. I just had a podcast here a couple weeks ago with a fella that I saw at Otomokes. I hadn't seen him in 35 years. His name is Doug Crawley from Illinois, and he had the distinction of winning the UKC World Hunt with the first female ever. Up to that point, it had always been won by male dog, and he had a dog named Crawley's Louise, and his story was, really right at the end of the year, and he didn't think he'd qualified, and he left and went home, and they were trying to chase him down and finally got hold of him right before the deadline and said, look, your dog's qualified if you want to enter the World Hunt. So he got in, and the rest, as they say, is history. But, okay, so you went to Florida then and got through the zone there, and then you went up to Marshall, Illinois. Now, I've hunted a lot out of Marshall over the years because with my association with the Plot Hounds, they've had plot days up there a few times in years past. What'd you think of that hunting up there around Marshall?
Oh, man, hats off to UKC for having the hunt there. To me, I loved it. It was flat, plenty of coon, bigger, it seemed like bigger sections of woods and still plenty of crops. Yeah. The only thing I have to complain about was Mother Nature didn't produce enough rain. It's a little dry, but other than that, we still treat several coon, and we've seen a bunch more sitting up. Yeah.
Well, when you go to an area like that, and I learned that over the years putting on these world hunts, is if you can get the hunt into an area with a lot of coon, whether they happen to be moving particularly well or whether the guy's dog is operating really the way he would want it to, you're not going to hear many complaints when guys see coons sitting around all over. I mean,
absolutely.
It's kind of hard to complain about that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But, when you're out there on a 2-hour cast and you see 15 to 20 coon, plus if you score on 5 or 6, it's just stuff that I'm not used to, I guess you could say.
Right. Well, you mentioned Florida, and over the years we did the plot days there many times, and I remember one time in the 70s when I had just come home from the Air Force, we treed and scored on 26 coons in 3 nights of hunting there at Florida.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
well,
incredible.
just right there around Florida, Salem, that area too. That's great hunting as well.
Right.
I
Well,
think that first night there at the zone, I think our calf scored on 10 coon.
yeah, that's great. And that's really what I guess there's been different philosophies about what a world championship should be. And some guys say, well, you need to put it at the toughest time of the year to really test the dogs and all this and that. No, I think the best idea is put the dogs in coon and then let's see what they can, what God gave them to work with,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yep.
and everybody has a whole lot better time. Let's face it, we're coon hunters, we want to treat coons, don't we?
Oh yeah, that's what it's about. Treeing coon. And my idea of going to a coon hunt is a place where there's a good coon population.
Oh yeah. Now, do you go? Okay, I'm getting chasing a little rabbit here. Now, you go north of Hyden to go coon hunting.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. We travel north. We're hunting north of Lexington. I guess west of Louisville in that area. Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Do you know Terry Vance that lives up in that? Yeah.
Yep.
He's
sure
up
do.
that way somewhere, I think.
Yeah, Terry's probably an hour and a half from me.
Okay. Good enough. Good enough. All right. So, what were you thinking after you saw Lacey's performance at Flora and all, and you don't have but 2 or 3 days there till you have to go up to Marshall, and you start to hunt up there on Thursday night? How was she feeling? What did you think your chances were?
Well, I said, well, there's going to be 108 dogs there, and I said, well, we've got one out of 108 chances to come out on top. But yeah, it was hot over there at Flora, and I looked at the weather. I knew it was going to be hot over at Marshall as well. And that's one thing, she's getting a little more age on her. I don't really push her like I used to, but she's in decent shape, I guess you could say. But we were going to try it, win, lose, or draw. I was satisfied that she had got us that far.
Yeah. Now, who went along with you? Was your backup? Did you have a backup handler there in the earlier rounds?
No, actually, I went up with a good buddy of mine, the Flora, and he had hunted over there at the zone, and then hunted a couple nights at the Super Stakes. We stayed together at the hotel. But as far as going up to Marshall, I made the trip by myself.
I see. Well, I'm looking here at your picture here with Lacey, entry number 55, double nickels. That must have been lucky for you.
It must have been, yeah.
Well, that's great. So, okay, well, let's go on the end to that a little bit. I guess we could go in, break down the dog, about how she trees and what kind of tree dog she is and all that. But I'm going to just tell the listeners, go look at the UKC Coonhound World Championship on YouTube, and you can see her operate there and hear all the commentary there about her. But from your standpoint, let's go from Thursday night. What? Just tell me what you remember about Thursday night at the World Hunt.
Yeah, Thursday night we got up there. I went up the same day. Usually, if we're traveling to a hunt, most of the time I like to leave the night before, but due to work and stuff, I just went up Thursday morning, and we got up there and we got our picture took and everything else, that UKC does. So we got drawn out and realized I drew one of my good buddies, Cody Carter, from over in Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Cody actually won the UKC World last year with Cookie, and
yep.
It sucks when you always, like I said, you drive that far and you end up drawing one of your good buddies. But we had a good cast. I think Lacey scored on 2 coons in that cast, and his female scored on 2, and she actually made another tree where he said he saw the coon walking in. We get in there to score it, and we can't find it.
Oh,
Man, he he just took a terrible break right there. That could have been a different outcome in the cast.
Well, now, kind of what were you hunting? You hunting around cornfields, fence rows, patches? What?
Yeah, I guess there was probably more cornfields than anything, but there was still a good amount of woods. Big creek running through it, which it was dry, but this creek had some water in it.
Yeah.
Cornfield on top, some oaks around the hillside, there between the creek and the field. Just a perfect recipe for tree some coons.
Yeah. So how many did you tree on that cast? Do you remember?
There was some dogs treed there during the hunt, but trees that we didn't have to score, I think I think we ended up treeing 8. I think we scored on 5 in the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, okay, now the format has changed up a little bit since I was there. At one point, we had situations where dogs were not losing a cast, but were still not getting to advance. They advanced on score. The way this thing is with 108 dogs, they've got it figured out where you're going to get down to a top 27 and then a top 9 and then 3, which is it's pretty decent, I think, the way they're doing it now. So that first cast win, though, puts you in the top 27, right?
Yeah, yep. That first cast win moves you on to the top 27.
Right. So then the next night, there's 9 dogs going to the woods in 3 dog casts.
There was, there was 9 casts. Yeah, 9 3-dog casts.
Right. Okay. Well, now that's on Friday night. That's not late Thursday night, is it? It bumps to Friday. Okay. Yeah. So you get a little rest there. Okay. How'd the Friday night cast go?
Friday night, I drew 2 guys that I really didn't know that well. And once again, we went to a real spot. I think Lacey treed 3 singles that cast. Another female, actually, she treed, and I think she treed 3 also. And another dog, I think she ended up treeing. I know one that we walked to, she was treed again there after the hunt. So we scored on a bunch of coon again that cast. Had a really good hunt. And we just came out on top.
Was there any point in that hunt where you had to do a little bit of handling, where you had to think about things a little bit or decide whether you wanted to tree or not, or was she just out there? Don't want to sound like she's making it easy, because I know it's never easy, but how did that go? Was it a pressure field cast or what?
Yeah, all 4 casts, it come down to Lacey's last tree, and she had to have a coon in it in order for us to move on. And that cast was the same way. And I'm looking at my Garmin, and she's a mile away from me. Well, it's showing her treed, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to hear her or not. We get in there to score a English female, and she's got a coon. It's just right there, right above her head. No sooner than we pull off that tree, I can hear Lacey sitting through their tree. There's just a few minutes to go. Other boys, females treed through the country, and if I've got a coon, I win. If I don't, and he's got a coon, he wins.
That's what makes it such a great game, Casey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's down to that shot at the buzzer. Sometimes is the one that wins the game. Well, that's good. So anyway, walk into that tree with us. Tell me about where she was and how was it going into that tree and that last tree on that cast.
Oh, man, I guess when I treed her, there was like 44 minutes left in the cast, and we walked 41 minutes of it getting to her. She is definitely
not an old man's dog.
Well, when she wants to, she don't care a bit to stretch out and go hunting. And that's what she had to do there. She was treed on. There's a lake right there, not far outside of Marshall, and she was actually treed on that lake. I can't remember the name of it, but we we walk in there, and I'm thinking, you know, she's got to have a coon. It's do or die pretty much. And sure enough, we get in there. She's treed on the side of that lake, and it's kind of steep around, you know, the banks of it.
Yeah.
I was able to get down there, and she had him up the oak tree.
All right, let me get my old mountain coon hunter hat on here and talk. Was the coon on the downhill side toward the water?
Yeah, actually it was. Yep. Actually it was.
Yeah.
And I tell you, man, it was so that bank, it was steep. It was up and down. And when I handled her on that tree, I asked the judge if I could bring her back up to the bank so I wouldn't have to go back down there. And we got up there. We started the shine time, and I looked, and I said, man, I'm going to have to go back down this. And sure enough, I get down there, and on the back side there he sits.
Yeah. They're not always that way, but I learned that years ago hunting in the mountains in West Virginia, especially along water and all. They tend to want to be on the downhill side, you know, or down toward the water. I don't know why, but I've noticed that. Maybe it's just an old adage there that I passed along through many, many years. But at any rate, well, that's great. That is great, and that's the way you want to win them. Really, you know, that makes it drive back to the club a lot better, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's the one that got her into the final 9?
Yeah, that moved us on to the final 9, yep.
All right. Well, what do you remember about that one?
Well, you know, Friday night, that was the late round. There was 3 dog casts, and you know, it's several good friends that had made it to the final 9. Sure enough, drew a couple of good buddies, Levi Stevenson and Tyler Roten. I knew them boys for several years. You know, competed against them multiple times, and we ended up drawing. And we didn't, you know, I knew it was going to be a little more tough that late round. I noticed that it was getting foggy that when we were headed back after the early round. And sure enough, it was. We pulled up to a spot and cut loose right down just a big, pretty creek. You know, there's good timber on both sides of it. Actually seen 2 coons sitting right there where we cut loose at.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lacey made 3 trees that cast. She treed 2 coons and made a den tree. Tyler's dog, he'd actually got in the ground right there out of the truck, something that he hardly ever does. And he ended up treeing a coon, and then Levi's dog, he had treed a coon.
But you treed 2.
You know, yeah, just treed 2 and made that den tree, and that was just enough to squeeze by.
Yeah, just enough. That's all it takes, right?
Yeah. But I tell you, man, that's every cast up there. She kept me on pins and needles for the whole 2 hours.
Women can be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm going to get hate mail for that. Well, how did she hold up? Okay, so now that's 3 casts she's been through, and she hunted 2 casts the weekend before. Just to rewind the tape a little bit, did you hunt her any between the zone and the finals?
Yeah, I hunted her one night. I hunted her on Tuesday night. I think she treed 4 singles that night, and I said, well, that's enough. You know, at this point, it's going to be what it's going to be. Going out there another night, I didn't think would make another difference.
Right. She probably benefited more from the rest than she did, you know. Right. Yeah, that's kind of my philosophy. Of course, it's been a long time since I was a competition hunter, but you know, these dogs, they do get, you know, they're flesh and blood, and they do get tired, and they're not machines, you know. How did she hold up overall going into the 4th night? Now, how was she physically?
Well, you know, just like any other dog, she was a little tired, but, you know, I felt like Saturday all day, her and I both, we got as much rest as we could. I left her in the room, you know, most of the day, and she that's one good thing about her. You know, anytime we're out on the road, she always does good as far as resting good, eating good, you know. Yeah. And I felt like, you know, if she would be okay, you know, especially when it got dark and we lined them up, she was going to be ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you go out there on Saturday, and UKC does a great job of making you guys, to build up the butterflies as much as they can.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Have
As nervous as I already was, getting to experience all that. It's not a bad thing to be more nervous, but man, that's what I was telling a couple of my buddies. I was tore all to pieces.
I interviewed Lane Denny back after when he won the World Hunt with Emmy, and about that, and definitely, I was a guy, I never really hunted because of my work. I worked for 3 different registries, so I wasn't out there competing a lot. But like Plot Days was my world hunt. I wanted to win that every year if I could. But
Right.
I always got butterflies at draw out time, or when it was time to go get my stuff on, and it's just that pregame jitters, I guess, But are you like that at all, or are you pretty cool?
Oh no, I stay tore up. That's what I've always said. It don't matter if it's a $30 hunt or the world hunt. If you ever lose that feeling, then that may be the time you should quit. I get nervous.
Well, like the old preacher back home said, salvation's better felt than telt. Unless you're a coon hunter and have gone through all that, you really probably can't understand that. What would be so exciting about that? But man, it is. I've seen guys get so excited that they lost their dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after all of the interviews and the pictures and all of that, and you go out there on the final 3, what were you thinking at that point?
Main thing was we were just thankful and blessed to be there, and I knew if she done what she was supposed to, kept her nose clean, then we should be okay. And she treated us a couple coon, and sure enough, that's exactly what she done.
Yeah. Well, looking at the score, let's see, your score was what, 450?
Yeah, 450.
Yeah, and the Joe Dog had 3 or better, right?
Yeah, he had 350.
350. Okay. Can you kind of walk me through that? Put me in your back pocket there and take me along on that cast?
Yeah. We cut loose. I thought it was, that's one thing that somebody had asked me there why it struck so quick. But before we turned loose, I could tell Lacey was winding a coon before we cut loose, and sure enough, I think she was. We cut loose, and right there, just under the minute, I strike. Joe strikes right behind me, and Lacey's working a track. We cut them in the woods, and she's working a track down this holler. And I guess about 4 minutes in, bam, she comes treed. I get her treed in, and Joe's on down the holler a little bit. He's working. We go score Lacey. She's got a coon by this time. Joe's treed. And then I guess the female with him. We go to them, and they're on a big oak tree. We can't really shine it all that good, but I guess they use probably over half their shine time. That tree gets circled. I've done recut. By now the strike's back open. We walk up on the bank. I've asked the judge if we can kind of get up a little higher. That way we can, hear everything. She's like 700 yards at this point. Sure enough, Lacey strikes. I get her struck back in for 100. Joe struck in. I think he's like 7/10. Man, that dog, he moves around good.
Had you hunted with him before?
No, I had never got the opportunity to hunt with him. No, not. Yeah. But I know Braxton well. He's a great kid.
Out of Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, we're standing there listening to them dogs, and it's just just a minute or two, and Randy's female, she opens up right there in front of us. She works a little track, and bam, she comes tree just 150 yards in front of us. He trees her, and we go in there, and she's up just a big old white oak tree, and can't really see it good. And we score it, and it's circle. Pull off that tree, he gets recut, and by then Braxton's sitting through the country treat at 8/10. Braxton gets him treed in, and he's the opposite direction of Lacey, and I'm sitting here looking at my Gorman, and we're just walking further and further away, and she's kind of going the opposite direction.
Oh boy!
I'm thinking, man, this ain't good. Well, we get in there to Braxton, and he's treed up a big giant oak. We're looking and looking, and finally the judge finds his coon. Well, I guess on the way to Joe's tree, Randy's female got treed again, okay. which was a blessing for me, because that was kind of back, in the direction Lacey was. So we go score.
Thank you, Fergie. Huh?
Joe. Yeah, thanks, Fergie. Anyway, we score Joe's tree. He's got a coon. We're headed back to Fergie. We get in there to her, and I think there's like 30 minutes left in the cast. And we're shining. She's treed up. It's just a mess. A big tree top goes into a couple broken out trees. And I guess about 3 minutes in, I hear Lacey come treat through the country. And I'm thinking, little girl, this is on you, And Braxton, I can tell his dog is probably treed. He's kind of asking the judge to hear him when we pull off that tree. And we pull off that tree, and no sooner than he does, I just go ahead and tree Lacey, and Braxton trees his dog. And that's when we're walking. That's the most important 700 yards I've walked in my life, I guess.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Man, yeah, I was tore up. We were walking in there, and we kind of walked up a bank to her. She was treed on the edge of a bean field, and I'd seen it was a big oak. And I guess to that point, she'd made 9 trees that week, and 8 out of the 9 of them had been oak trees.
Mm-hmm.
And
feeding on acorns already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They were already feeding on the acorns. I reached down and tied her up. I said, little girl, this one's on you. I said, we've got to have it. And I stepped out in that field, and we started the shine time. And I looked straight up, and man, there's just 2 big orange eyeballs glowing down at me. Man, it hit me. I was tore up.
There's no way. Did Joe end up with a coon there?
Yeah,
on his tree?
Joe had a coon. He sure did. Yeah,
but you knew at that point the hunt time already expired.
I think when we got in there to that tree, we may have had 3 minutes.
I see. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's got to be a great feeling. I have walked alongside several guys down through the years that won world championships on that cast, and been in the woods with them when it happened. And I've never seen one of them that was just nonchalant and unimpressed. It's a great time, isn't it?
It's something else, man. You put all these long hours in. A lot of people don't understand why we do it or anything like that, and for yourself and for the people that do understand, when you get out there and it pays off like that, it's just, there's no way to describe that feeling.
Yeah. Well, you get congratulated all around, I'm sure, by the other guys in the cast. How was that ride back to the club?
Man, I was tickled to death. First thing I saw that coon, I told them guys, I said, hey, I got to call my wife. And she was actually watching the live feed, and I was trying to tell her that I won, and she was saying, I know it. I know you won. And, I was so excited. And, yeah, we kind of done, I guess we interviewed there at the tree, and we kind of got headed back to the truck, and I was able to call my Uncle Jack and my good buddy Eric Pyatt, and also spoke with JR. Oh, yeah, it's something else.
On a side note there, how was Eric getting along?
Eric's doing good. He is. He's still able to hunt. he's taking treatments, to
Sure.
to beat this thing. But yeah, he's doing good.
Well, that's great. He's one of the greats as far as this night hunt competition game, certainly. And
he definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy how you meet people through a coonhound, and they become one of your best friends.
That's awesome. And our prayers are with Eric as he battles this doggone disease. I just hope that at some point that we can find a cure for all that and people won't have to go through that. But we wish Eric definitely the best. Well, he knows what it's like to win a world championship. He won the AKC World with Frogger, and maybe some others. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know he made it to the finals of the UKC World one year. I think he said he got fourth place in that.
I see.
Yeah. Eric's he's been extremely successful in the coonhound world.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, so you get the call back to your wife and you drive back in, and any more, John Wick, do you know who John Wick was or is?
Yeah.
And he wrote some great books and wrote for Cooner for many years and all. He said something one time. He said, it's hard to get a great big happy crowd to congratulate a world championship at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But were there some people there when you got back to Marshall?
Yeah, there was, several of the UKC staff was there, and a couple more people was there. But hopefully most people got to watch it online. That's one of the benefits of social media. You sit right there at your house and watch the live feed.
Amazingly, my wife didn't know what a coon dog. We dated in high school and then didn't see each other for many years, and she never even remembered that I had dogs. And when I was in high school, none of my buddies or anybody that there had hounds. And that was something I did with my dad, and I don't think I was ashamed of it. I just didn't talk about it too much to my friends and all. But she had no idea when she married me how crazy I was over these coonhounds and hunting and all of that. But she'll sit down and watch this with me now. When I get on and sit down, hopefully do that tomorrow, maybe we'll still have power after this hurricane goes through.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure so.
Yeah. So anyway, so you get back and you get the trophy and all the prizes and the pictures and all that. It's begin to sink in pretty good by then?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess, before the final cast, I'd had plans on driving back home that night anyway, and after all that and getting in the truck to head home, man, I don't think I yawned one time until I pulled in the driveway.
You were at an adrenaline rush, man. It was still, yeah. Oh, that's just great. I mean, it's just nothing like it, and I've seen the smiles on the faces and down through the years, and although I never got to be on the receiving end of one of those trophies, I've given away a lot of them and shook a lot of hands and took a lot of pictures. And it's just a great, great experience. And to be the world champion, I mean, that is, coon hunters will tell you that have hunted all their life, they wanted to win a world championship. What is it about that?
It's hard to explain, but it's to me, the UKC World Hunt, it's the most prestigious title of them all. It
is. It is.
It's just hard to explain.
Yeah, it is for sure, and the emotions, are really high, and it's something that you'll be able to look back on, Casey, for the rest of your life. I see people, Brian Ruckman up in northern Indiana, that won the 1985 UKC World Hunt with a big white dog named Beaver Lake Magic. And Brian, still vividly remembers that whole experience, and that was in 1985. So that's been a while. And so this is something that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And that's one of the reasons I like to do these interviews with these podcasts, because that's going to be there too.
Right. Yeah.
And someday your grandchildren or great-grandchildren or whatever are going to be able to get online and listen, to this interview, which... So anyway, it's just great. Well, I certainly want to congratulate you. Awesome performance all the way through. Of course, you didn't lose a cast there at Marshall. And what about your judging and all, and the way the hunt was operated? Do you have any comments?
Oh yeah, that's one thing I spoke with Alan about as far as UKC. I mean, they just done a terrific job from start to finish, from selecting the guides to the guys they had judging. It was just, it was the best experience possible. They definitely go out of their way to make everything a step ahead.
Yeah, and I can't say enough about Alan Gingrich and Trevor Wade. Those guys are just salt of the earth guys as far as I'm concerned, and they've been very gracious to me in my old age to provide me a spot there at Autumn Oaks where I can record my podcasts and all, and they just treated me extremely well. And I was able, the first year of the Tournament of Champions, to be the analyst, on the video coverage, and really enjoyed doing that. But no, those guys, I know what goes on behind the scenes. I know how much work it is. And I don't know that a lot of coon hunters think about that. They think about the experience and their own cast that they had or whatever. But that World Championship starts way back at the first of the year, and scheduling all those RQEs and working with those clubs and trying to get it right, and then planning the zone events and all the tabulation of the scores and the publishing that goes on online. It's just a huge undertaking, but those guys really do a great job. It's good for me to hear you say that.
Yes, they do. That those guys there, they're the first ones there and the last ones to leave. And that means a lot. Yeah,
absolutely does. Well, one thing that keeps bouncing in my, I'm sitting here looking at this picture of you and Lacey on the UKC Facebook page. Beautiful female. Is she anything like Willie? Obviously, you've hunted with Willie, haven't you?
Yeah. I got the opportunity to hunt with him. When he was a pup, all the way up, I guess, kind of through. When JR had quit hunting him. But that's one thing about Willie, man. He definitely marks his pups, not only their looks and I guess their mouth, but the style that Willie is as far as how he can treat coons. Mm-hmm. There's some similarities there with Lacey as well.
It was amazing to me to see the other day that JR broke him out and hunted him in a cast here recently.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. Do you see?
I don't. I definitely don't. In fact, I think I made a comment about that somewhere. Does he have any idea what he's turning loose? I guess when you got a great dog, I was up at Randy Smith's in Pennsylvania, and his old Biffy Sioux female that won the world hunting in 2016, and we took her out there across from the house and cut her loose and listened to her run and tree a coon, and he hadn't heard her run and tree probably in 2 years or more, and the man had tears in his eyes when she came up on that tree, and I was proud to be there too. And well, all right, God, I know you've probably had this question asked to you 100 times. Do you have any plans to breed Lacey?
Well, you know that, yeah, there's been several people asking. I've spoke with Jack about it a little bit. You know, we haven't really talked any more about it. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
got you.
she loves to coon hunt, and I love to take her hunting. So hopefully we can keep
Yeah,
going to a few hunts here and there.
sure.
But you know,
How
when
old
she
is she
comes in,
now?
she's 5.
Oh, okay. She's just
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Just right.
yeah. So we'll see. She's due to come in here end of the year, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, sure. Well, I'll ask you this, and then I'm going to let you go because I know you've probably told these stories now a lot of times. I'm sure you've had a lot of people contact you since you won, right?
Oh man, yeah, you know, people recognition and people congratulating us. You know, it's just been overwhelming. And I can't begin to thank everybody, you know, that's reached out, and just everybody that was pulling for us from start to finish. You know, and man, it means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
We're
things come
definitely
to
very appreciative.
I know you are, Casey. I can hear it in your voice. And, you know, good things come to good people. I firmly believe that. And I think you're one of those good guys in this sport. And I applaud you for your reputation and your awesome accomplishment and with world champion 2024. That seems incredible to me. The first UKC World Hunt was held in Beaver Dam, Ohio in 1978. I was a field rep for UKC. That was my first year, 1978. For me to imagine that it's been that many years, you know, with these world hunts. And of course, I took my sabbatical when I went to work for PKC, was there for about 7 years, and I went to AKC and was there about 7 years. But UKC has always been my home. UKC was where I started as a field rep, you know, and where I made my first NITE champion and on and on and on. So, but I'm just so happy to see that this world hunt has continued on, and it just gets better and better. And I know they had a big entry this year. I think it was the largest that they've had in several years now. So that just encourages me a lot to know that, you know, everything is going well. Do you plan to? I'm sure Lacey's qualified for the Tournament of Champions, isn't she?
Yeah. Actually, I guess the cast before the final cast got her qualified for the Tournament of Champions, and yeah, good Lord's willing, we'll be there hopefully.
Yeah, well, no, Willie Pup won that one too, the second year there, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Connor.
Connor won it the second year.
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. I was out there the first year. I haven't been back since, but I was there the year the Bad Butch Dog won it. And that's a great hunt, too. And UKC does a great job with that hunt as well. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, is there anything that you thought I would talk to you about that I didn't? Or anything that you want to say to my listeners before we go?
I can't really think of anything other than, I just want to thank everybody for reaching out, and I like to thank my wife and my Uncle Jack, just everybody in between, if anybody ever is in need of any hunting supplies, J.R. Gray, Primetime Hunting Supply, man, he definitely takes care of me, and I'm sure he'll help you out any way he can if there's anybody listening that.
And that's Prime Time Hunting Supplies?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Well, is he going to give you royalties on all the stud fees now he's going to get on Willie?
Oh, yeah. I 10%. I done told him he's going to pay 10%.
There you go. Well, I hope that dog lives a long life, and of course, I hope that we talked in my this week's episode about frozen semen and the importance of collecting these good dogs. And I'm sure Willie's probably got a lot of popsicle pups out there waiting to be. Yeah. Well, it's been a real pleasure for me, Casey, to visit with you tonight, and for you to take the time. And I know it's been a busy week. We're recording this here on a Wednesday night, so you're only about 4 days since you experienced the thrill of a lifetime winning the UKC World Coonhound Championship with Little Lacey. And we just wish you all the best of luck going forward with her and with your other hunts. Do you have any young dogs that you're working?
We have a pup out of Willie right now that he's actually up Eric's house. Eric's been messing with him. We'll just see how he turns out. But as far as myself, the only dog I have right now is Lacey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can't let you go without asking you this. One thing I determined when I started this podcast was to try to make it an outlet for helping people. Any words of encouragement or instruction or how to avoid pitfall, whatever that you could give to these, especially younger hunters that are out there that aspire to do what you've done, what would you say to them?
You know, there's something I always kind of live by, Steve, and you know, whether it's competition coon hunting or anything else, and whatever you put in it, that's what you're going to get out of it. And I'm a firm believer in that, you know. And if you're out here hunting that dog and doing it justice, hunting it the right way, and you form a bond with that dog, it's going to pay off. And that's, you know, if there's anything for me to say to anybody, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, that's exactly right, Casey, and very, very good advice. And you heard it right there from the current UKC Coonhound World Champion, Casey Maggard, hunting Little Lacey, won the hunt at Marshall, Illinois, and is still high on it, I'm going to bet. Well, Casey, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight. I hope you boys have a good hunt tonight. I wish I was close enough and young enough to get out there and enjoy it with you. When you talk about those mile walks, I'm saying, you got a buggy? Yeah, I'll go with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we can prevent a few of them walks tonight. I met up with my buddy. We're going to go for a little bit. He's got a friend that's got permission on a good farm, and hopefully
awesome.
we tree a pile of coon and have a good time.
Well, I hope you do. That's for sure, and that's what it's all about. Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Casey Maggard of Hyden, Kentucky, a winner of the 2024 UKC World Championship. It's been a great visit. Want to thank our sponsor, W Hunting Supply, and also Alpha Dog Nutrition for providing an opportunity for me to come with you each week. This is the Gone to the Dogs podcast. For Casey Maggard, I'm Steve Fielder, and we'll see you down that road.